Ready to level up? Chumba Casino is your playbook to fun. It's free to play with no purchase necessary. Enjoy hundreds of casino-style games like bingo, slots, and solitaire anytime, anywhere. With fresh releases every week. Whether you're at home or on the go, let Chumba Casino bring the excitement to you. Plus, get free daily login bonuses and a free welcome bonus. Join now for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Play Chumba Casino today. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. T&Cs apply.
Today, we'll have Deb's solo Disney World trip. That's coming up on this episode 454 of WDW Prep To Go. Hello and welcome to WDW Prep To Go, where we talk strategy and ideas for people planning their Disney World trips, and we have lots and lots of trip reports, and today is another one of those. I am your host, Shannon Albert from WDWPrepSchool.com. Thank you for being here for episode 454. Today's trip report is a solo traveler, which I don't think we've had in a while, and I really was happy to talk to Deb because this is something we get asked about a lot, and I kind of wanted people to hear how it can go, and Deb was really great about sharing tips and tricks and information along the way, and also just making the trip totally her own. I'll have that in just a second. As always, a reminder to follow on social media. And also we have email lists that we send out 2 emails per week. So if you would like to join that, we send out news as well as just information that is not necessarily related to the news, just for planning purposes. And I hope that is helpful to people that are on the list. And you can be one of those by using the information in the show notes if you would like. Without any further ado, here are my chats with Deb. Welcome to the podcast, Deb.
Well, hi. It's nice to be here.
You and I are talking on Wednesday, February 26th, and I believe you have a Disney World trip coming up.
I do. Next Monday, March 3rd.
Okay, March 3rd through what's the ending date?
I return on the 11th.
11th. Mm-hmm. And who's going on the trip?
Me, myself, and I.
Nice. And have you ever done Disney World solo?
This will be my 5th annual solo trip and my 2nd since I retired.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, can we talk about that? How did you get started doing annual solo trips to Disney World?
Well, it started because I had conferences in my professional life in Orlando a couple of years, and I just said to my husband, I'm going to tack on a few days at Disney. And he was like all for it because he knows how much I love Disney. He's not the biggest fan. He'll go, but he really would rather go places that are more of his interest.
Uh-huh.
So I'm just such a big Disney fan that I started going as like a little add-on to a business trip. And then I realized, hey, I could just do this as a trip by itself. And so I started doing that a few years ago, and then I retired at the end of 2023. And I usually go, I've always gone February or March, like late February. I try to be there right at the beginning of the Flower and Garden Festival. And I try to be done before any of the spring vacation travelers come. The weather's great. And I live in Chicago, the Chicago area, and it's great to get out of Chicago at this time of year when you're just absolutely so tired of snow and cold. So it all works out.
Yeah. So you basically started with, it's a business trip add-on, and then wait, I don't need a business trip to justify it. Yeah. So I'll just go.
It's gonna go.
I'm just going to go. And so before your first solo trip, what was your history of going to the parks? I assume it was with other people? Yeah.
I mean, we went with our young children when they were young children a couple of times, not frequently. I think we went once, I'm guessing at the dates, like once in the early 90s and once in the late 90s, something like that. And then the even more fun than that was we went with extended family, my daughter and her husband's extended family, parts of it, twice. And that was really fun because there were so many people, different people did different things. We kind of split up and did what we wanted to do. And it was very relaxed and really fun. But then there was a big gap, maybe 10 years before I started doing these solo trips.
Do you do solo trips other places as well?
I haven't. I find Disney just to be an environment that I don't have to rent a car because of the way I choose to move around the parks and stuff. I don't have to know directions to anything. It's just kind of It is the Disney bubble, and that's what it feels like. And I know you can't just let all your guard down, but I feel very comfortable. And I like the idea. I don't have to get out of a car in a parking garage and find my way to the hotel. It's just,
Mhm.
I did a lot of business travel for many years, and there was always a sense, even when I was a lot younger, of lack of security. And when you
Mhm.
don't have to do any of that, if you don't want to, it just feels a little safer to me.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. I love that. Where are you staying for this trip?
I have a split stay. The first 4 nights I'm at Animal Kingdom Lodge for the first time. I've never stayed there. Staying at Kadani Village. And the last 4 nights I'm at this is an impossible hotel name, the Signia by Hilton Bonnet Creek.
Okay, we're gonna go with Bonnet Creek. It's part of the bigger Bonnet Creek.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a good way to say it. And Bonnet Creek I've stayed at 4 times before, twice with my extended family and twice by myself. And
Oh,
I've
and
loved it.
how did you decide to do it as a split stay this time?
Mostly the ridiculous cost of the whole deluxe resort expense for all those nights. And also, frankly, since the Bonnet Creek Hotel went through a renovation a couple of years ago, it's more luxurious than the Disney deluxe hotels I've stayed at. It's
Mm-hmm.
just newer and fresher. It has an amazing pool
Mm-hmm.
with the lazy river and stuff. And it has good Disney transportation. That's the main thing.
Oh, it does. That's good to know.
Yeah, it has it's not as frequent, obviously, as the
Mm-hmm.
Disney buses, but it's usually every hour,
Mm-hmm.
day long, and way into the night. So you don't have to, I take a lift if I have to, if I'm just exhausted and I don't want to walk to the end of the parking lot to get those buses.
Mm-hmm.
But it's always worked for me. And they're kind of luxury coach buses. They aren't like the Disney buses.
Yeah, that's good. I'm always looking for good offsite recommendations. So
I highly recommend it. I've only had good experiences there.
we've stayed in the Wyndham Bonnet Creek part a couple of times and
Mhm.
also really like that. Feels more like an apartment over there, but also great lazy river and all that.
Yeah.
So, okay, then let's start walking through because you said Monday, March 3rd is when it begins. So are you flying or driving?
I am flying out of Milwaukee. I live in the Chicago area, but Milwaukee's really convenient for us and it's a less busy airport. So I'm flying out early Monday morning, nonstop to Orlando. I get to Orlando about 10 o'clock in the morning.
And how are you getting from there to Animal Kingdom Lodge?
I worked with a travel agent, as I always do. Highly recommend that. And the travel agent arranged a car to pick me up, which she's done for me before, and it's always worked out really well, and take me to the hotel.
Okay. All right. And then what are your plans after you arrive at Animal Kingdom Lodge?
Because I'm going to get there, early, probably well before my room is ready. I'll just drop my bags off at the concierge valet, whatever they call it, and head over to Disney Springs. I'm not going to any of the parks the first day, and I'm not using the water park,
Mm-hmm.
on arrival day thing. I have a 4:30 reservation at Raglan Road, which I love. I'm revisiting a lot of my favorite restaurants and trying a couple of new ones. And I'll just shop and enjoy Disney Springs for the afternoon. And I'll probably get something at Gideon's on the process of that.
Yeah, got to do it.
Got to do it.
And if you get it at the beginning, then you can munch on those cookies the rest of your trip if you want to.
Exactly.
I know from firsthand experience that if you go to Gideon's at the end of your trip, it can make your luggage go overweight because the cookies are so heavy.
I believe it.
They weigh pounds if
It
you
lasted that long for me. I could, even if I bought it on the last day.
Okay, then Tuesday, March 4th, what's your plan?
Oh, I forgot. When I get back to the hotel on Monday night, I have a reservation for the Starlight Safari.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I've not done that before. It's at 10 o'clock at night, which surprised me. And that's the tour of the savannah after dark with night vision glasses or binoculars or something.
Yeah.
I'm very excited for it. And this is a very Animal Kingdom themed trip because
Mhm.
it's my favorite park. And I love it so much. So I'm starting
Yeah.
out with a bang that first night.
People are always asking for tips for solo trips. And I think going on tours like that is a great tip because you're just part of a group.
Yeah, and everybody's friendly, and
Hmm.
it's always been a pleasant experience. And the cast members make it pleasant. Even if they notice that you're by yourself, they take a little extra time with you and
Hmm.
make sure you're good and everything. So it's been a good experience for me.
All right.
So
Now Tuesday, March 4th.
now Tuesday. Tuesday is my first park day. I have a 6-day ticket with Park Hopper, and this is the first time I've ever done Park Hopper because I always thought it was a little bit too pricey, but it's makes things so much more flexible
Mm.
that I'm excited about that. Tuesday the 4th, I'm at Animal Kingdom for most of the day, and I've already bought the multi-pass for that day. So I have scheduled for myself first thing as soon as it opens, Kilimanjaro Safari, and then Navi River Journey, and then Tough to Be a Bug because I want to do that one last time before they close.
And
And
can we talk about the lightning lane process? How did that go for you?
it was a little nerve-wracking. I had a whole spreadsheet set up, so I
Hmm.
was trying to be really organized. But what I discovered that surprised me was because I was shifting to a different hotel, even though I had park tickets with my package with the Animal Kingdom Lodge part that would have covered 10 days or whatever, I had the clock restarts when I moved to the other hotel. So I could only book my Lightning Lane multi-passes and single passes and all that stuff through the 7th, which is when I
Hmm.
switch. So on this coming Friday, the 28th, is when I have to go in again at 6 in the morning and do the rest of them.
Yeah, a split stay on site, you'd be able to make them all at once. But since you're
Mhm.
moving off site, you have those two different
Yeah.
dates. But
Yeah.
for the first part of your trip, did you have any trouble booking your lightning lanes?
No, I didn't have any trouble at all. I found the process. I practiced it a little bit. I think that really helps. I went in before I was eligible and I saw what the screens looked like because otherwise I think it would have confused me a little bit.
Hmm.
I didn't find it hard to do, and I got the times I wanted. It's just
Yeah, with
it,
with one
it was
person, it's bit easier.
yeah, oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have a bunch of people that are listed with me, but they're people that have gone on the trips with me before in the past, and it just blocks them out because they don't have tickets, so they don't even show up. So you don't have to worry about excluding. I was thought maybe I'd have to exclude people or it would,
Hmm.
triple and quadruple the price, but it didn't do that.
Hmm.
And I
Okay.
had my Visa card linked to the app, so that went through easily. It wasn't a problem. And I also reloaded or re unloaded and reloaded the app about a month ago just to
Hmm.
be sure it was going to function right. So all of those things I think helped not to run into any glitches.
Animal Kingdom certainly would be an easy one to get lightning lanes for.
Yeah.
Some of the others are a little bit more competitive. So you already talked us through some of your lightning lanes booked at Animal Kingdom. What else do you have
Yeah.
planned?
For the 4th, I always spend a few hours at Nomad Lounge. So that's my big other thing to do that day. And sometime in the middle of the afternoon, I will take the Disney bus over to Hollywood Studios because I bought a single pass for Rise of the Resistance, which I'll use as soon as I can. I think it's scheduled now for 6:15, but if I can move it a little earlier, I probably will try to do that. And then I'll do any other rides that look interesting at that time. I don't have anything definite in mind. Oh, but I have to do Muppet Vision before it closes, so I will definitely do that. And I'm sure I don't need Lightning Lane for that, but I already had it from the other park and, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a 7:40 dinner reservation at Hollywood Brown Derby. That's my second favorite place in Walt Disney World because the first is Nomad Lounge,
Okay.
but I have childhood memories of going to the real Hollywood Brown Derby
Mm-hmm.
in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
And I walk in to the one at Disney World, I am 6 years old.
Mm.
I just go right back there. So I have to go. And I'm going twice on this trip.
I
Eating.
feel like a lot of the details are so close that if you went to the real thing, that the Disney version would be, really reminiscent. Like the Chinese theater looks exactly like the real one on Hollywood Boulevard.
The booths are exactly what I remember.
Mm-hmm.
The caricatures on the walls are exactly what I remember. The black and white tile on the floor in the lobby is what I remember.
Mhm.
So anyway,
Yeah. Love that. I assume that's the end of your Tuesday?
yes. And Wednesday, I have another nearly full day at Animal Kingdom. I got multi-pass again. I didn't have any trouble doing that. And I'll just try to hit any rides that I missed the day before, essentially. I'm going to do Dinosaur that day because, again, it's going to go away. And I'll redo the safari again. I can't get enough of that. I'm going to also revisit Nomad Lounge that day. And I'm doing the Savor the Savannah tour at 3:15.
Nice.
Which I've
Savor
done.
the
Savor the Savannah. It's the one where you just ride out on one of the Jeeps and you get to stop and talk to some of the keepers and ask questions. It's just a lengthier version of the regular safari ride. And then you have a little light meal at that little structure that's out in the savannah. It's good food. It's not, it's not like a big heavy meal or anything. It's good food and it's really interesting food and interesting wines. And, again, just being with nice people and having a chat.
Yeah, love that. Are you also doing things like the trails?
Yeah. I'm going to try to see as many animals as I can.
Okay,
So,
you certainly have the time for it.
yeah, I've never had 2 full days in Animal Kingdom, and I really wanted to make sure I did that this time.
I am looking up the forecast for your trip, and it looks like it's gonna be beautiful.
Yeah, it's supposed to be nice. I think we're going to get rain one day, but
Yeah, great temperatures. It always lends itself to more Animal Kingdom time, I think.
yeah. So when I'm done there with Savor the Savannah, I have dinner reservations at Jico back at Animal Kingdom Lodge at 7:40. And so I'll probably try to get back to my room first and change so I don't smell like a giraffe.
You'll still get to see the animals, though.
Yeah,
Okay. Another fun day. Thursday, March 6th.
that's a rest day, which I'm going to need. I plan to spend the day at the resort. I have a 10:15 BOMA breakfast reservation, and which is just a walk over to Jumbo House, which is not. I visited the Animal Kingdom Lodge last trip because I just wanted to check it out, and I had lunch that time at Sanaa, and I walked between the two parts of the resort, and it was just not a difficult walk. So, plan to walk over there. If the weather's good, I will go to the pool at Kanani Village for most of the day. And if the weather isn't great, I will just head over to Disney Springs for some shopping. Last year, I tried to take the Sassagoula ferry to Port Orleans French Quarter, but the river level was too low and they weren't running the boats. So hopefully they'll be running, and then I'll get to go over and check that resort out.
Okay.
And
the
then
next day are you ready to move on the next day, or you still got more on this day?
I got more on this day.
Okay, let's keep going.
Thursday night, I have dinner reservations at Narcoossee's, which I've never tried before. So I'll just take the Disney bus to Magic Kingdom and then the boat over to the resort. And then I just come back to the resort. And then Friday, I'm ready for Friday.
And is this your switching day?
This is my transition day, yeah. So I'm going to have the no reservation breakfast at Sanaa, which I was glad to find out they had such a thing. You don't have to make reservation, it's just breakfast. And then I will take a last walk around to see the animals and check out more things at the resort that I haven't had a chance to see. And I will probably take a lift over to, or Uber or something, over to the Bonnet Creek Hotel. I'll probably get there too early to check into the room, but I will drop my bags off again. And then I plan to spend the afternoon at Epcot. I like to enter by the International Gateway just because the front of the park isn't that interesting to me, and I really want to get to the World Showcase. So the way I like to get there is to take the regular bus from the Bonnet Creek Hotel over to Hollywood Studios and then the Skyliner or the boat to International Gateway. It's a pleasant way to go. And what I find is the whole parking lot situation at Epcot is it's just not pleasant. There's nothing inviting about it, or anyway, I don't like it. So I'd rather enter through the International Gateway if I can. Let's see. I do have a multi-pass for the 7th, and that's primarily so I can avoid the line at Remy, because I just find that line to be usually really long. And because the Flower and Garden Festival will have started, and I'm an avid gardener, so I really like this festival, especially the topiaries and the butterfly garden. So I'll try to hit those. And I have scheduled passes for, don't laugh at me, the stuff I choose with the multipass, not things that people think are big priorities, but they're priorities for me. I go to Turtle Talk with Crush and Spaceship Earth. That's my plan. And then I have a dinner reservation at Rose and Crown at 4:30, and I'll return to the Bonnet Creek Hotel using their bus after I've done all that. And that's the end of the 7th.
And to catch their bus, I assume it's out in the same vicinity as the Disney buses.
Well, it's a little further out. So again, I might just go all the way back to Hollywood Studios because there the off-property buses are a lot closer to the rest of the transportation. The Epcot parking lot, especially at night and when you're by yourself, is a little less friendly feeling than the Hollywood Studios parking lot. It seems very bright and it's really close in. So I might just haul myself back over there and go home that way.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, Saturday the 8th is first Hollywood Studios and then Magic Kingdom. I plan to buy the multi-pass with for the day starting at Hollywood, and then a single pass for Rise because I want to ride that again. I have a lunch reservation at Brown Derby around noon, and I will have multi-pass passes for Millennium Falcon, which is I've never ridden before, Toy Story Mania, which I have, and Star Tours, which I never have ridden. So
getting your Star Wars in.
Getting my Star Wars in and I always try to challenge myself with at least one ride that I've been scared to do. And I'm just not sure how I'm going to react to the Star Tours shaking around kind of situation, but I want to try it because I don't want to succumb to my fears of things that I'm scared to do. And then I'm moving over to Magic Kingdom. I have a reservation for the fireworks dessert, the one where you sit through the whole thing, sit through the fireworks.
Seats and treats, I think.
Yeah. I've done that before and I love it, especially because when you're traveling by yourself, being in that big fireworks crowd is a little intimidating. And I get there a little early, like around 6:30. I think it starts at 7. And I always get a seat right at the railing and right underneath where Tinkerbell flies. It's so amazing. It's so fun.
That is nice.
So if I get over there in time, I'm going to try to at least go to ride Haunted Mansion because that's one of my favorite rides. And if I decide to stay later after the fireworks, I think it's open a little bit after the fireworks, I'll try to hit a couple more rides, but I may be exhausted by them. Who knows?
And to catch transportation from there to your hotel, you have to go to the TTC, right?
I'm trying to remember how I get. Yes, I'm sure I do.
Okay.
And I've done that before, and that's not bad because there's always people around, especially right after the fireworks. The parking lot always feels to me empty. I don't know why. Not a lot of people around. Oh, and I have a reservation for Skipper Canteen for lunch at Magic Kingdom. Not at Magic Kingdom, sorry. What do I have?
Yeah, Skipper Canteen is Magic Kingdom.
Okay, I already talked about lunch for that day. Never mind. Okay.
Yeah, you had 12 o'clock Brown Derby for lunch this day.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now Sunday the 9th is kind of a rest day, but I am going over to Epcot for breakfast at the Creperie. I've really enjoyed that, and I'm going there for a 9 o'clock breakfast. I might wander around a little bit, especially if the weather isn't great, to see any of the flower and garden things I haven't seen. Most of the day I plan to spend at the pool at the Bonnet Creek Hotel. And then at the end of the day, I'll go back over to Epcot and do some more rides probably. I did get a last minute 6 o'clock reservation for the Space 220 Lounge, which I've never gone to before. I've never been able to get on the wait list, but I got a reservation this time. So I'm going to do that. That's going to be fun.
Good. That's on your list of new things this trip.
That's a list of new things. Yeah. So that's the 9th.
Monday, March 10th.
Monday is my biggest splurge. I am going to buy, if hopefully that'll be available, the premium pass for Magic Kingdom. Because I just love the idea of not having to look at my phone and not having to scurry from one end of the park to the other and just start at one side and work my way around and do everything I want to do in one day.
Fun.
I can't wait. It's a lot of money, but it's me, just me. So it's not multiplied by 2 or 3 or 4.
Exactly. Multiplying by one, a little bit easier.
It's a little bit easier. Oh, one of the benefits, there's some drawbacks when you aren't on a Disney property, but the Bonnet Creek Hotel gives you early entry.
Mm-hmm.
So I can get to Magic Kingdom at whatever, 7:30. I can't remember what time I can get there for that day. And I can be done, hopefully, with everything that I can exhaust myself to do, by 5 or 5:30 that night. And then I have a reservation back at the hotel for dinner at 7:30. What I was going to say was they give you early entry. And the other thing is that hotel, the Bonnet Creek Hilton, there are a variety of restaurants. There's fine dining, there's bars, there's casual dining, and you can also use the Waldorf Astoria restaurants, which are right next door. It's attached. It's kind of a long walk, but it's all undercover. It's all inside to get over there. And, the only disadvantage in terms of Disney access for that hotel, well, one is I said the transportation isn't as frequent. And for some parts, it starts a little later than it would otherwise. But now I forgot what I was going to tell you.
Restaurants, lots of restaurant choices.
Yeah. If I think of it, I'll tell you because I can't remember what the other thing was.
Okay. And the restaurant that you're eating at the hotel, is that a new one for you or a favorite?
No, I've eaten there before. It's a lovely restaurant. It's only open for dinner, and I always have good experience there. For a lot of these things, the other thing I would say for people traveling by themselves, a lot of the restaurants, the Disney restaurants and the off-property restaurants, require you to have at least 2 people to make an advanced dining reservation. And so my travel agent just puts herself down as the other person, and then I show up and I say, I'm sorry, it's just me tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise you can't get a reservation at some of these places.
Yeah, that's weird. Don't like that.
So that's my Monday the 10th. Tuesday is my return day. I'll leave my bags at the valet and head over to Disney Springs for some last minute shopping, not to go to Gideon's, I hope. And then what I'm going to have to do is take a ride share over to Disney Springs because the Bonnet Creek Hotel bus transportation doesn't go to Disney Springs until noon, which doesn't make any sense to me because everything opens there by 10 or earlier. But anyway, I have to take a ride share over there, and then I'll have lunch at Chef Art Smith's, which is a favorite place to go. And then back to the hotel for tears in the car back to the airport.
Gotta head to the airport.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, this sounds really fun to me. I think it's we haven't had a solo trip in a while, and I'm happy to be able to talk to you because I think more people should do it.
Yes. Yeah. I always get a surprise reaction when people who know me don't, hear about this for the first time. And how could you do that? Don't you get lonely? And the thing that's really wonderful about doing this at Disney is the cast members are so friendly. If you need a friendly person to talk to, there's always a friendly person to talk to. There always is. And, I try to find ways to be helpful to people if they seem to be lost. And then I get into conversations with them. And, sometimes parents are just struggling with their kids. And if I can get the kid distracted and make them laugh,
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I don't have anybody who's depending on me. So I'm kind of more available to help people I see that might need help,
Yeah. I think you end up talking to more people because you're not engaged in a conversation of your own. So it's easier to pull them in.
And I try to give as many cast compliments as I can.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really like the app version of that because when you think of it, sometimes you don't remember where the person was from. You might remember their first name, but not where they're from. So this time what I'm going to plan to do is just to make sure I know the person's name and where they're from so I can be more accurate.
Yeah, that's nice. When you go in looking for reasons to leave cast compliments, I think you end up finding good things to notice during your trip. So that's really good. Well, this has been lovely to chat with you, and I will talk to you in a couple weeks.
Okay.
Welcome back from your trip, Deb.
Thank you.
We're talking on Tuesday, March 18th, so you've been back about a week.
Yeah.
How was your trip?
The word I would come up with for the trip was fulfilling. It was so fulfilling.
Oh,
it was so satisfying. Yeah.
That's
it was
really
the kind of vacation where you get to the end of it and it's okay to come back home. Because you did everything you wanted to do.
Because it did what you wanted it to do.
Yeah, exactly.
That is fantastic. I can't wait to walk through it and find out why it was fulfilling. So let's start with Monday, March 3rd. You were flying out early from Milwaukee to Orlando.
Early from Milwaukee. There weren't any glitches on the way. It was an early flight. I think it departed at like 6:10 or something. But everything worked out fine. The flight was, arrived early in Orlando. And I was picked up by a car my travel agent arranged, which is the second year I've done it that way. In the past, I've done every possible way to get from the airport to Disney. And I just landed on, this is just so convenient and it feels luxurious and it's just calming to be in a nice, comfortable car on the way to a nice, comfortable vacation. So that's what I did.
And do they help you with your bags, like at the bottom of the escalator?
The bags. He took the bags off the thing for me and put them in the car for me and gave me a bottle of water, and it was lovely.
That is nice.
Yeah, it was nice. And so the flight was early, and besides, I knew I was getting to Animal Kingdom Lodge early.
Mm-hmm.
So I just assumed I'd have to park my bags with Bell Services and get into the room later, but I did park my bags with Bell Services, but I just turned around and I got a text saying my room was ready at noon.
That is early.
It was very early. And so that was kind of the first of a number of very pleasant surprises on this trip. When I was checking in, I picked up a celebration button, and this one just says celebrating life and love. And I got a lot of nice responses from cast members, and they asked me what that was about and everything. So I told them about my family, and anyway, it was really good. Before I did anything else, and after I kind of put my bags in my room and everything, I had a very nice, relaxing lunch at the Kidani Pool Bar, which is like you can get meals and sandwiches and things there. And I wanted to kind of check out the pool because when I had visited Animal Kingdom Lodge before, just to check out the resort, not to stay there, I'd only seen the other pool, the bigger pool that's at Jambo House, and I was staying at Kidani. So I just kind of wanted to check it out, see what it was like, see what the pool bar was like. And I really liked it. I didn't end up spending any time at that pool because the weather was lovely, but it wasn't warm enough that part of the week, to spend much time at the pool. So I did want to really focus on the room. The room was such a wonderful surprise because even though I requested a lower floor so I could feel like the animals were a little closer, I'd requested close to the elevator in the lobby. I didn't really expect that because it's so spread out. And I've watched your advice about asking for different rooms, and especially at that location because you can be so far away. My room was 40 steps from the elevator. It was almost the closest room you could get. It was wonderful.
So you got your request and you were happy with that.
I was very happy with it.
Good.
It worked out great. It was room 8. So it was like the 8th room in the hallway from the elevator, which is wonderful.
Perfect.
So the first thing I did when I walked in, now the other thing is watching, sort of videos of tours of the resorts and the rooms and everything. The impression I'd gotten was that the rooms in both Kidani Village and Jambo House were kind of dark and brown.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not how they came across to me at all in person. I don't know why, even in the Disney pictures of them, they look kind of dark. It was lovely and had different textures, and some of the wood was kind of polished, and so it wasn't all one tone. It was really pretty. But more importantly, when I walked in and I opened the curtains, there were animals outside right away. It was wonderful. It was exactly what I was hoping for. So it was just a nice introduction. Everything the first day was just great, and it only got better from there.
Off to a good start.
Yeah. So what I had on the schedule for that day was to go over to Disney Springs. I wasn't going to go to a park that day. So about 2:30, I headed over on the Disney bus from Animal Kingdom Lodge to Disney Springs to do some shopping. And I had an early dinner reservation at Raglan Road. But before Raglan Road, I had to get in line for Gideon's. And it was not a virtual queue. It was just, 20-minute wait or something like that. And so I got some stuff from Gideon's that lasted me the whole vacation. I didn't have to go back.
You're stocking up.
I got one piece of cake that lasted me for 5 days. I mean, it was ridiculous. Anyway, Raglan Road was a 4:30 reservation. And I always liked the Irish dancing and the music, but I thought maybe I was a little too early for that. But they were performing, so it was great.
Can you share, as we go through your trip, how you felt about going to these different places as a solo traveler? Because sometimes people will ask questions about the best places to eat when you're solo, and I think some are better than others.
That's probably true, but before I retired, when I was working, I ate out a lot by myself. And so I just got used to it. But trying to be sensitive to that concern, I think it helps to not be at a table kind of in the middle of the room, because you could feel a little bit like people are watching you. So if I can ask a request, I usually say, could I have a booth, or could I have a booth on, could I have a table or something on the facing the room? And that usually is a little bit more comfortable, I think. But
yeah, I've done solo trips, and I was single for years. So I'm also quite comfortable with it. But at Raglan Road, I recall being sort of close to the stage. And there's something about that. You kind of feel like you're just in the audience. You know what I mean?
I've never sat close to the stage. They've always sat me, a little further away. I've always been sort of against a wall. So
that would be good too, I think.
Yeah. So,
yeah, I mean, it wasn't intentional for me. I was just like, oh, this is kind of a nice vibe to be in the audience where you're right close to the stage. You just feel like you're all kind of facing that direction anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. I just have never been seated there. So,
and there's something to look at.
Yeah.
There's entertainment there. So
there's entertainment. So that helps too.
It does help. I think that's a fun choice.
Yeah. So after dinner, because I gotten up so early in the morning, I took the Disney bus back to the Animal Kingdom Lodge for a nap. But I did have one more thing to do that day. And this was something I would recommend to anybody either staying at Animal Kingdom Lodge who wants to go over there late in the evening. I went on the Starlight Savannah tour. And I think there are usually 2 tours, but the one I went on was at 10 o'clock at night. So the tour leaves from Kidani Village, in front of Kidani Village. So I just walked down to the lobby and walked out. And it was one of those evenings that it was a little chilly, so I was really glad I brought a jacket. But other than that, it was, just perfect. There was a wonderful cast member named Emily who had lots of information about every animal, including everybody's names, which was really fun, and how they named the animals and how they vote on the names and all that. And I had no idea that the animals only spend a short amount of time in what they call the barns, or the shelter areas. Most of the time they're out on the savannah, and you don't know that because it's dark on the savannah and you can't see them, but they're all out there. And
how many people were in your group?
There were maybe 10 or 12, a couple of children, one family with like 2 or 3 kids, and then other couples. And I think I was the only solo person on the trip. It's not a large vehicle that you're in, and and they stop it a lot, and you can stand up and take. I don't know if anybody took pictures because it was night vision lenses, but you could see all the animals. It was surprising how many you could see with the night vision lenses. There were, zebra and giraffe and antelopes and all kinds of things. And I would do it again if I stayed at the lodge again. I really would.
How long did it last?
I think it was about an hour and a half. It was quite long. It was well worth the time. It was good.
So roughly 10 to 11:30 for you.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good. get a sip of water. I'm getting a tickle in my throat.
Okay.
So that was the end of Monday the 3rd.
All right. And so that's a really good day because that's pretty much what you planned on doing. The next day was Tuesday, March 4th, and you had more animal plans at Animal Kingdom.
Yes. So this is the first of 2 days at Animal Kingdom Park. And I know a lot of people think of Animal Kingdom as sort of a half-day park, and I think of it as a 2 full-day park because I like it so much. For this day, for most of my park days, I think all of my park days, I got the Lightning Lane Multipass. And for me, I do it because I get a backache if I wait on a hard surface more than about 20 minutes or so. And to me, that's worth the price. So that's what I do. So I got to Animal Kingdom about 8:20 on Tuesday. And what I decided to do, because I was going to be there 2 days, is the first day I was going to focus on the Africa Pandora side. And the second day I was going to do Dinoland and Asia. And that's what I ended up doing. The first Lightning Lane I used, which was sort of ridiculous because I didn't need it, was for A Bug's Life. But I wanted to be sure I saw it. And I didn't know if people would already be rushing in to see it for the last time kind of thing. I walked in at about 8:40 to that. And I always enjoy it when I go to it. It doesn't freak me out or scare me or anything. But I can see what people say about it's just usually not appropriate for little ones because there were screaming toddlers in there that I did not understand why they were not being carried out by their parents because they were very unhappy. But
I know. I think a lot of people don't know what they're getting themselves into.
Yeah, I guess.
Or I should say past tense now because it's closed. But
it's probably just as well it's being replaced by something that's a little more kid-friendly. But I enjoyed it, so I wanted to see it one more time.
But also, you said you got a lightning lane for that, right?
Yeah. So which I didn't need.
You didn't need it, but a lot of people are doing this very purposely so that as soon as you tap in, you can start to get other lightning lanes. And I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's kind of how I managed it. I just did it in case, because I kept hearing people are going to try to go for the last time. And it was within almost a week of when they were closing it down. And I thought, I don't want to miss out on it just because I didn't have a lightning lane. So let's see, the next thing I had a lightning lane for was Kilimanjaro Safari, but I had a little time. So I got some coffee at the, I can't remember what it's called, Kusafari something. Anyway, and I'd literally been a Starbucks snob before, but I really liked it. I'd never had Joffrey's coffee before and I really liked it. So that was a good thing to find out. So then I used the lightning lane for Kilimanjaro Safari. And what I did throughout this trip that I hadn't done before was to request specific seating in rides, different rows and things. Because usually when I'm a single traveler for the safari, they usually put the single travelers in that row right behind the driver. And it's really hard to see things there except directly out to your side. So I thought, well, I'll just do what people say to do, which is just to ask nicely and politely and be willing to hear no. So I got the back seat on the left side in the whole vehicle. And it was great. I could see almost 360 degrees. It was perfect. So
yeah, I think that's a good point. Much better for photos.
Yeah, much better for photos. Yeah. Okay. So I got on Kilimanjaro Safari at 9:15. And it was a cool morning, so there were lots of animals, which was great. I'd never taken it that early in the morning, and it was really worth it. I got off of that, and I just had to wait for Nomad Lounge to open because that was my plan for midday. I did that both days. I love Nomad Lounge. It's my favorite place on the whole planet. I just love it. And I was in the first group of people to be seated right at 10:30 when they opened the line.
Did you do that through standby or through a wait list?
I just walked up and there were only 4 people ahead of me in line. So I got right in. I always kind of lounge around there for a long time. So I was there till noon, from 10:30 till noon. So then I took the train to Rafiki's Planet Watch because I wanted to see the little petting zoo, goats and pigs and everything. And that was really fun because there were a lot of the week I was there was before spring break. So there were a lot of families with toddlers and 5-year-olds and, preschool kids. And so it was just fun to watch the kids interact with the animals. And then I took, the back way when you get out of Rafiki's Planet Watch, the back way through Africa to Pandora, that pathway I hadn't explored before. And the parks were not full that week at all. It wasn't too crowded anytime. But I was on that pathway and there was nobody on the whole path, the whole way between Africa and Pandora. So I took pictures to say, it is possible to be at Disney World and not be crowded with people.
It's such a peaceful path too.
It is. And it's it's just very nice. And it's wide. It's wider than the other pathways in the whole park. Anyway, so the next thing was a lightning lane for Navi River Journey, which was, I got on that at 1:30. And by then, I surprised myself because I had done everything I really wanted to do at Animal Kingdom that day. I didn't want to crisscross across the park. So I just thought, well, I'm going to go to Hollywood Studios because I had 3 reservations there kind of stacked up against each other. Kind of at the last minute, I got an Oga's Cantina reservation for 3:45. And then I had a single lightning lane for Rise at 6:15. And I had a dinner reservation at Brown Derby at 7:40. So I got over to Hollywood Studios in plenty of time to wander around Batu, the Star Wars area. I really like the market and the whole atmosphere, especially last year and this year. I was able to see the Mandalorian, which was fun. I've never taken a picture with any of the characters, but I like to see them and I like to see people interacting with them. So I kind of hang out and watch that and the stormtroopers because that's always fun to listen to them talking to people and trying to intimidate them.
But what you're just saying is what makes me wish that more lands were like that, because you don't necessarily want to meet them or take pictures, but you like seeing them.
Yeah.
So wouldn't it be nice if all the lands had that option where you could just kind of observe without getting in line?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So this happened several times. They let me in a little early to Oga's, and I don't know if it was because I was one person or what, but all the reservations, if I turned up 15 or 20 minutes early, almost every restaurant let me in early.
Yeah, and it might be because you're solo.
Probably. And also because it just wasn't that crowded that week.
Where were you seated? Like a table, a booth?
At the bar, which was fine.
Which
I prefer that anyway, because then there's somebody to talk to that's not another guest. It's awkward when it's another guest, but when it's the bartender, it's fine. Just make conversation.
Yeah.
So I had a little bit of time after I left Oga's before my Rise reservation at 6:15. So I fit in a lightning lane for the Frozen sing-along because that's always fun. And I was in and out of there by 5:45. So then I went over to Rise and I had the best experience ever on that ride because things were working better than they had the last 2 years. There were more features that were working. It felt more like we were really in danger, which I always thought it was sort of cartoony before, but it felt more like anxious than I felt before. And the other thing that was so fun was that I was on a vehicle trying to escape the force or whatever with about 6 German teenagers who spoke a little bit of English, but mostly not. And they were so enthralled with the whole thing. They were having so much fun that it made me have more fun. So that was great.
First timers on that are really something because there's so many elements and they don't know what's coming next. They don't know what to expect. So that's really fun. You got a whole car full of them. Yeah,
exactly. And I always wear, because I'm kind of sensitive to the sun, I always wear a very wide brim hat when I go to Disney, go anyplace in Florida. And, you're always asked to remove it if you're on a ride where it could blow off or whatever. But it has like a leather string thing. So I just tighten that up and I just say, it won't blow off. I'm fine. And this time I thought, okay, well, what I can do is I can tell the first order that it's part of my head, and as my species has this as part of their head, and I cannot remove it. But I didn't need to use that line because they accepted my excuse that I wouldn't blow off my head.
I love that you're getting into the character.
I was totally getting into it. I was having so much fun. So and then I came off that planetary experience and I headed over to Brown Derby. And I love the Brown Derby restaurant because I went to the real Brown Derby in Los Angeles when I was a kid with my parents. And I am 6 years old when I walk into that restaurant. Some people are 6 years old when they get on Peter Pan. I'm 6 years old when I walk into that restaurant. And I always have a nice time. And I just found the cast members across the board were so lovely this time. I don't know if they're happier because they got raises or what it is, but anyway, it was a lovely meal that I had. And that was the end of my activity for the day. But I had one thing that happened on my way back home or back to the resort that I just wanted to kind of pass along a hint to people in case they're first timers or whatever. I had never stayed at a resort that had more than one stop. And so the Disney bus, might make more than one stop at different resorts. Well, there was no announcement. Usually there's a recording as you're getting close. We're now at whatever, and, hope you have a good evening or whatever. And then the bus driver usually says something. There was total silence and the bus was jammed. And I was in the middle of the bus and it was dark and I couldn't see where I was. And I assumed, because when I went home the night before from Disney Springs and it went to Jambo first and then Kidani, that it would do the same with this bus, but it didn't. And I had already done 18,200 steps that day. And I did not want to have to do another 1,000 steps to get back over between those two parts of the resort. So I was really frustrated. And I got off the bus and I went over to Bell Services, which is right there where the bus lets you off. And I said, I need to get over to Kidani. Is the shuttle still running? And the nice cast member said, yes, in fact, it's right here. Let me run and stop it for you. So he ran over, stopped the shuttle for me. I was the only passenger getting on it, and I got home. So it would have been very frustrating if I'd had to walk it, but I didn't.
I had a similar experience, but in reverse, where I wanted to get off at Jambo House and got off at Kidani because there was no communication.
Yeah,
and
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, and I think that is very frustrating. Those are the only two stops, but they are a little bit of a walk, and it's unfortunate if you don't know where you are.
Yeah, exactly. And most people, for some people, it's the third or fourth time and they know the routine, but I didn't know.
Yeah, that was my first time too, same thing.
So anyway, my suggestion is to either sit in the front so you can see where you are or ask the bus driver to let you know, because otherwise you might not know.
All right, that seems like a fun day.
It
and
was.
Then the next day you had plans to go back to Animal Kingdom.
Yes.
All you homeowners have unique needs. Some feel the need to leave up holiday decorations year-round. Others have the need to use their garage as practice space for their new metal band. And because each homeowner has unique needs, Geico helps you get the right coverage for your home and what's in it. That way, you get exactly what's right for you, even if your needs are unique. Get more with Geico.
The next day, Wednesday the 5th, I had an early breakfast at Sanaa. They just do a quick service option there, so you don't need a reservation. It's very nice. It's the same seating and everything as if you're having a full meal there, reservation meal or whatever. And you see the animals out the window. So it was, and they're all active in the morning. The animals are active in the morning. So that was lovely. And the meal was fine. And so I took the bus to Animal Kingdom. I got there about 8:15. So this was my Dinoland and Asia side day. I also bought Lightning Lane multipass for that day. I did Dinosaur first at 9:00. And I don't know if it was me this time and I was just in a better mood or what, but it was so much more fun than the last time I did Dinosaur. And it wasn't because the dinosaurs were different. I think it just felt more like thrilling, it was just getting bounced around more or something. And it can't be different, but it just felt different to me. When I got off that, I had time before the 10:00 bird show, the Feathered Friends in Flight show. So I walked the Maharaja Jungle Trek, mostly because I wanted to see the baby tiger, and I did, and that was sweet. I also like the bird section of that, and I usually like the bats, but the bat area was closed. So
pretty. Again, I feel there's so many pretty areas of Animal Kingdom Lodge.
Yeah. To me, it's like, I don't know exactly why it's my favorite park, but I think it's just because it feels so imaginative. It's like, I always forget what they call the Star Wars part of Hollywood Studios.
Galaxy's Edge.
Galaxy's Edge. It's like Galaxy's Edge when you walk in there and you don't feel like you're in any place you've ever been before. That's what Animal Kingdom feels like to me. Like, it's not Florida. It's not where I'm from. It's not any place I've ever been. It's just,
It's immersive.
it's very
Expedition Everest.
immersive.
Expedition Everest is the tallest mountain in Florida.
Yeah.
So it really is like a different place.
So I went to Feathered Friends in Flight. That, I think it was a 10 o'clock show. And I thought, and I've been to this show probably 10 times over the years. And I think it was the best version I've ever seen. It wasn't different. It wasn't like completely different or anything. It was just really well done, really good presenters, and lots of birds that just really flew really low over the audience. Really interesting. And I purposely sat in the very back section because I really didn't want a bird flying right over my head. But I could see the whole panorama of it. So I really enjoyed that. So when that was over, I got on the wait list for Nomad Lounge again, and I got called at 10:50, but I asked if I could wait for an outside table because it would have been an inside table. So I wandered around the Tree of Life until I got called at 11:15, and I went to Nomad Lounge and had my lunch there. So when I got finished at Nomad Lounge was probably about 12:30, 12:45. So I went on Kilimanjaro safari again. Altogether, I was on 4 safaris on this trip. I was on the Starlight one at the lodge. I was at Kilimanjaro safari the first day, Kilimanjaro safari the second day, and then I was back an hour later for Savor the Savannah. So I really got my fill of animals this time. It was great.
You did. But I am surprised that the regular ride is appealing to you after getting those sort of special experiences, because it's like having a private tour kind of.
I don't know. I just enjoy it. There's always, the cast members are always different. They always talk about different aspects. The weather's different. Different animals are out or they're not out. And there's just so much to see that I just enjoy it each time. Again, I got the back row because I asked for it. And let's see, when I got off the Kilimanjaro safari, I probably had about 45 minutes before I had to check in for Savor the Savannah. There was a 3 o'clock check-in for a 3:15 departure. So I just wandered around the shops in Animal Kingdom a little bit. Now, Savor the Savannah, this is my 3rd year doing it. And it's one of those things I think I would do, if possible, every time I went, because you get to stop along the way and ask questions of one of the animal keepers, and the giraffes come up really close to the truck. And then you get this lovely sort of light meal of appetizers and desserts and South African wines and everything at the shelter. I think it's called a boma in the middle of the savannah. And you're watching the animals down below you and, talking to people that you're getting to know because you're on this little trek with them. And people are always very friendly and nice. And it doesn't matter if you're alone. I got invited to sit at a table because they noticed I was by myself, and it was very comfortable just chatting away and enjoying the food and the atmosphere and everything. Savor the Savannah takes about 1.5 hours. So when they let us off near the entrance where they let you off is near the entrance to the train to Rafiki's Planet Watch. It was about 5 o'clock. So I decided to head back to Animal Kingdom Lodge because I took the bus back. I had a dinner reservation at Chico's at 7:40, I think it was. And I just wanted to change my clothes and, get ready for dinner. And I had a great dinner at Chico's. I think one of the differences at almost all the Disney restaurants is they make you feel comfortable if you're by yourself. I've never been asked, is someone joined? I've never been asked any awkward questions or anything. And sometimes you have to make a reservation for 2 because they won't accept a reservation for 1. But then I always say, well, it's just me tonight because I want to eat, whatever.
Yeah, I think that's a great tip for solo travelers.
Yeah. I mean, if you can't make a reservation for one, make it for two and just show up. They're not going to turn you away. They want your money.
You still, if you're seated at a table, you're still going to occupy a two top. So
Exactly.
I guess it's same kind of thing.
Yeah. So that was the end of Wednesday, the 5th. So
the next day was Thursday, March 6th, and it was a non-park day, but you're going to have some good time at the resort.
That's what I was planning on.
Mm-hmm.
I was either going to stay at the pool or maybe explore some other resort or something.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to kind of emphasize how much I enjoyed Animal Kingdom Lodge. I just think there's more to do there than in almost any other place I've ever stayed, whether Disney or not, just because there's so much to see and it's always changing. It's not like it's static and you go out the door and it's the same. It's the animals are different or there's so much artwork to look at.
Mm-hmm.
And the design of especially of Jambo House, where that bar is down below the main level of the lobby, it's so beautiful. I sent pictures home and people were saying, where are you? What is that place? They were just fascinated. It's just so beautiful.
I think it's the most beautiful resort.
I do too. I agree.
And it's also, like, for a deluxe, not expensive.
No, it's not nearly as expensive as other places. So that morning, I just enjoyed my morning coffee on the balcony, and my neighbors were doing the same. And it wasn't a situation where the walls were too thin. It's just that the dividers between the balconies are just, they can't, you can hear everything. But it was wonderful because there's this giraffe walking sort of gracefully by, and I hear this little voice of this little girl next door saying, "Bye-bye, giraffe."
Aww.
It was really sweet.
That is so cute.
Yeah. I had a 10:15 reservation at Boma for the buffet breakfast. And I had the impression from the photographs I saw and the videos I saw that Boma was this big, open warehouse kind of feeling place. And it doesn't feel like that at all when you're there. It feels like it's got little alcoves and little divider areas that always kind of break up the room. And the food was wonderful. And you don't see the animals from Boma, but it's beautiful, tropical plants outside and everything. And that's
another place. It's right next to Jico, which you had been the night before.
Yeah.
Were you able to see animals from Jico?
No.
Or just from Sanaa when you had that the first time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because Jico there's like a little, not a pond, but almost like a little river next to the restaurant. It's really beautiful to look out, but you don't see the animals past that.
Yeah, I think Sanaa is the place to go for that.
Yeah, when you want to see the animals, it's Sanaa. And I really enjoyed that meal. It was like interesting food. You could eat totally traditional American breakfast food, or you could eat all really interesting African and Indian food, and it was all delicious.
I love how you are the epitome of dine where you are, because you have eaten at all the places at Animal Kingdom Lodge.
I did that. I really did. And I've never done that before. It's always been
It does help that they have incredible food.
They have incredible food, every single one of them. Really good service and incredible food. Yeah. So after breakfast until about noon, I kind of explored around the resort a little bit more, saw more things than I had seen before. And because it was not warming up very well, I thought, this is not a good pool day. It's just, that doesn't work.
Can you talk a little bit about the weather?
Yeah, every day I would say it was sunny and pleasant every day, mid-70s kind of. Mm-hmm. This day, I don't think it got above about 72. It was the coolest of the days. And the only day that it rained was my day at Magic Kingdom, which was my last park day. And it rained for maybe an hour and a half. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I had really nice weather. I really did. It was very pleasant.
This time of year is always a crapshoot. I've been there and it was 40 degrees. I've been there when it was 90 degrees. And it sounds like you might have got the sweet spot where it was.
I did. And I did have one, we'll talk about it in a minute, but I did have one day where I was just at the pool at the other hotel, which was nice and warm and very comfortable to be by the pool. This day just wasn't going to work out that way, which was fine.
What did you do instead?
I headed over by bus to Magic Kingdom to take the boat to Wilderness Lodge, because I'd never visited Wilderness Lodge.
Mhm.
And I really wanted to check it out and see if I wanted to stay there. And I would just say one thing also about Disney transportation is I don't think people take the boats enough, because the boats are so, you see a different angle of things. And when you're always on a bus, it's like you're on a bus. You're on the water and you're seeing different angles of Magic Kingdom. You're seeing different angles of the different resorts. And especially going from like Hollywood Studios to Epcot or back and forth.
Mhm.
I love taking that boat. And then that was my introduction to like the Swan and Dolphin. I didn't know what those were like, but I got off one time on another trip just to explore those resorts and see if I wanted to stay there. And it's just a different angle, and it's a sort of feels like a slower pace, even though the buses can be slow, but
It does. Also great photo opportunities, whereas the
Yes.
bus would not be that.
No.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah, I take the boats whenever I can. And what was really surprising to me was I had no idea that Wilderness Lodge was directly across the water from the Contemporary, because it feels like it would be a lot farther away on all the maps and everything. It looked like it was farther away. And they've just managed to magically make the Contemporary disappear so you don't see it when you're on the Wilderness Lodge side of things. Again, it was like being in a different world. It's like being at Animal Kingdom Lodge. Wilderness Lodge feels like you're not in Florida. It feels like I grew up in the Pacific Northwest. That's what it feels like.
That's exactly what they're going for. And I think it's the same architect as Animal Kingdom Lodge.
I wouldn't be surprised. It's just as inspiring, but just with completely different materials and colors. And I love it that there's like a little river that starts, or a creek that starts in the lobby and flows out, and geyser that erupts, and there's a 5-story fireplace in the lobby, and it's just an amazing place.
Did you decide that might be good for a future trip?
I'm thinking next year
Okay.
I might do it. Not sure. So when I was there, I really explored the grounds quite a bit because I had a lot of time. And I had a snack at the Geyser Point Lounge, which was really a lovely open air lounge, and you don't need reservations, just walk up and get a seat. And then I took the boat back to Magic Kingdom and then the bus back to Animal Kingdom Lodge. And for some reason, I remarked in my notes that was really quick. For some reason, it just felt like I just immediately got back to Animal Kingdom. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, me either, but that's good if you felt that way.
I think everything kind of lined up. The boat was waiting for me. The bus was waiting for me. And then that night, I had a reservation at another restaurant I'd never eaten at before, this was my year to do a lot of things I'd never done before. Like I'd never eaten at Chico. I'd never eaten at the place I'm going to this night, which is Narcoossee's at the Grand Flow. And that was for $5.45. And because of the timing of the transportation to get back over there, I decided to get a ride share that night to the restaurant. I just didn't want to be late for the restaurant. So I kind of explored the Grand Floridian, but it's just not my style. So I decided I probably wouldn't want to stay there. I like the grounds. I like the architecture. It just feels a little too fussy for me. It's just not my style.
That's how I feel too. I think it's a great place to visit because they have great food, and especially during the holidays, it's so decorated, but not to stay.
Yeah.
Some people love it.
I feel like, I know people don't do this, but I feel like I'd have to dress up to go out in the lobby from my room.
Yeah,
just feels that way.
Yeah, different vibe. If you like Wilderness Lodge and Animal Kingdom Lodge, I can see why.
Yeah.
Animal Kingdom, Grand Floridian would be very different.
Yeah. So Narcoossee's was, again, another wonderful restaurant. I would go back anytime. So good, and lovely service. And again, I didn't have to ask for a special table or anything like that. I just got a nice table by the window, and lovely service and well attended to.
I don't know what time you were there, but was it anywhere close to fireworks?
No, I wasn't there for fireworks.
Okay.
Because I got there, the reservation was 5:45. So I was completely done before fireworks started. And because where Narcoossee's is, I'm sure the boat is right there. I mean, literally it was like there in the backyard of Narcoossee's. So I took the resort boat back to Magic Kingdom, and it was that sunset, so it was beautiful for photographs, and the lights were coming on, and it was really pretty. And then I took the Disney bus back to Animal Kingdom Lodge, and that was the end of Thursday.
All right, nailing it. The next day was Friday, March 7th, and you were switching resorts.
I'm switching resorts, and I'm going to the Hilton at Bonnet Creek, which I'd stayed at before. So not a lot of surprises there. It's a very nice hotel. I had breakfast on Friday again at Sanaa, and there were even more animals out that morning. And I took some time that morning to do laundry because I knew there wasn't a laundry facility at the Hilton. So I took care of my laundry and wandered around the resort a little bit more. And then I checked out right at 11, and I took a ride share over to the Hilton because I had all my luggage and everything with me.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I got over there before noon and checked my bags and found out my room was ready. So I got right into my room.
I do wonder if it's a testament to it just not being super busy. So they were able to they had rooms available.
I think so. And I was checking in on a Friday morning, so I don't know. It's like some of the Disney resorts, this Hilton is a convention hotel.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing I asked them, because it gets very noisy when there's a convention in this particular hotel, because the lobby is just echoey. So I said, is there a convention this weekend? Because I didn't check before. And she said, well, they will be checking in on Sunday night. So it might start to get, and it did. It got noisy and busy Sunday night and then Monday and Monday night. But the first 2 nights I was there, it was fine. So here's where the kind of downside of staying, off Disney property, where even if they have transportation, here's where the downside comes on. The Hilton's buses physically are great. They're like luxury coaches. Mm-hmm. They're not like the, bared down Disney buses, which are fine, but they're just kind of like city buses. Mm-hmm. These are really nice luxury coaches, but they run less frequently, a lot less frequently. They sometimes stop at multiple parks before you get to the park that you think you're going to. Mm-hmm. And the bus stops are always farther away than the Disney bus stops are. Mm-hmm. So, for example, Magic Kingdom, you can get on the Disney buses right at Magic Kingdom, but you have to go to the TTC to get the off-property buses. And I think this particular hotel, they've cut back on their bus services quite a bit, because the first time we stayed there, which was probably 10 or 12 years ago, it felt like it was exactly the same as Disney. And it just doesn't work that way anymore. So it's another reason I'm thinking about Wilderness Lodge as the second place to stay.
Oh, well, you'll do a split stay, but it'll be on site instead.
On Disney, yeah.
I think what you're saying is good for anyone considering offsite. Is if your hotel says it provides transportation, look at like TripAdvisor reviews and see how often and whether multiple stops, like you said.
Yeah.
What was the shuttle like?
Yeah, and because this is the first year I stayed at the Hilton Bonnet Creek last year too, and they never did double or triple park stops before you got to the park you're trying to get to. And one time it took me an hour to get to the park that was the closest park to that hotel, because they go to the farthest one first.
Yeah, and that is physically located so close, like it's almost on site. So it is a little strange that it would take so long. I wonder, did you end up using rideshare more because of that?
I did, which is another reason, because I spent a lot more money on rideshares than I expected to. Mm-hmm. And it didn't quite offset, it didn't absorb all the savings, but it made it less attractive to stay off-site.
Okay, another great point.
Yeah.
And you were able to make your lightning lanes for this part.
But not all up front.
Yeah, you were able to make them 3 days before. So as we're just kind of evaluating offsite versus onsite, that's just like part of the issue.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so because when I arrived and when I was ready to go to a park, it was an hour until the next bus from the hotel. I just decided to get a ride share to get to Epcot. And also because I didn't want to deal with entering Epcot from the front of the park, because most of the things I wanted to do any of the times I was at Epcot this trip, where in World Showcase, I wanted to enter from the International Gateway. And because I'd stayed at Beach Club before, I was really familiar with just taking the little walk from Beach Club. So I took the ride share to Beach Club. And also because it was not a busy time, I don't think the guy at the parking lot at Beach Club was very fussy about me not having a reservation, because they didn't even ask me.
They didn't ask. So it's a little bit of a crapshoot sometimes.
Hey, yeah. And I thought, well, if they turn me away, I'll have her take over to the street in between the Swan Reserve and the Swan, and I'll just get off on the street, So
I think even the Swan and Dolphin don't care. I don't think they ask. So I think you can just pull up.
Yeah, and I might do that. Then if it comes up again, I might do that the next time. But this time it worked. I got dropped off twice at Beach Club, and neither time was I asked for a reservation or anything. Okay, so I went in through the International Gateway, and let's see, what did I have?
You had some lightning lanes, I think.
I did. I'm trying to figure out what I had here.
My notes from the pre-trip report say Remy's, Turtle Talk, and Spaceship Earth.
Okay, so the only one I did there was Remy's, because I spent a lot more time around the World Showcase. I wanted to see the garden displays and the topiaries, and I really didn't want to have to walk to the front of the park for Spaceship Earth and do all that stuff. So I don't really like to go to the food booths necessarily during the festivals, just because I'd rather sit down and be comfortable for a meal than, and if I was with other people, I'd probably do more of that. But I did stop and get a very refreshing rum drink at the booth between France and Morocco. It was like a frozen citrus thing. And they said, would you like some rum in this? And I said, well, yes, of course I would. So
for some reason, that part of the park always has good booths, like good food quality and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I did Remy's, and then I just wandered around and saw I love the topiaries. I love all the garden things. I had a dinner reservation at Rose and Crown at 4:35, and they seated me right away. Had a good dinner there, like I always do. I left at 5:45 for Magic Kingdom. I took the Disney transportation from Epcot. I think I took the monorail. Yeah, I took the monorail over to Magic Kingdom because I had a reservation for the Sweets and Seats dessert party, and they let you in as early as 6:30, and then you can get a seat where you want to get a seat.
I did not have that in my notes for this day. I had it on my notes for the next day, for Saturday, March 8th.
I probably gave you the wrong information.
Okay. Well, let's go with it.
I got over to Magic Kingdom, and I used Lightning Lane to ride Haunted Mansion, because that's kind of my favorite ride over there. Got to the dessert party at Tomorrowland Terrace, and I got the best table ever because it was immediately under where Tinkerbell flies.
At the railing.
At the railing. And so but it was like even better than just being at the railing. It was like literally right. I could see the wire. So I'm like, excuse me if I'm giving away the secret that she flies, but she flies. I got the best video of her flying. She goes right over my head. That had never happened before. It was really
I love
cool.
that about all the dessert parties, is everyone gets a good view of Tink.
Yeah. And I've done this 3 years in a row, and I think I'm going to take a break from it if I go back to Disney next spring, because it's a long time to wait for the fireworks if you're just sitting there by yourself. It's not something that is as fun to do as a lot of other things when I'm on my own. If I was with other people, I think I would just wait for the fireworks out in the park. But, the dessert is fine. I don't think it's really worth the money to do it multiple times. I think I'll take a break until they do like a new fireworks show or something.
Yeah.
But it was the first time I did it, it was really worth it because I really enjoyed seeing the fireworks after many years of not seeing them. And I enjoyed it this year. I just was like, do I need to do this again? I don't think so.
But your table, because I'm trying to think, because once you check in, you have like an armband for the party. Your table was assigned to you, right?
Yeah. I
So
could have left.
Yeah, I was going to think if you left, you still had a great spot. So I guess if you wanted to go ride People Mover or something like that, you could.
Yeah.
But
I knew I had a whole day coming where I was going to be at Magic Kingdom, and I just kind of sat. Anyway.
yeah. Yeah, I see that. I also think that there is a list of one and dones that people are like, that was great. I just don't need to do it again.
Yeah.
And maybe dessert parties are on that list for a lot of people.
Yeah. When the fireworks were over, I remember just being, I don't like crowds and being sort of pushed along in a crowd. So instead of getting that experience, which I'd had the year before, I decided to just go over to Tomorrowland and ride the People Mover after the fireworks.
Speak of the devil.
Gave me a little time to let the crowds thin out. And then I went back to the hotel by their hotel bus. And that was the end of Friday.
But their hotel bus was, again, at the TTC.
Yes.
Did you have to wait a long time for that?
No. I had kind of timed it well. And there were other people waiting. So, you don't feel.
The next day was Saturday, March.
8th.
And you had Hollywood Studios plans.
I went to Hollywood Studios. I got to the park about 8:30. And this was the most fun day of the whole trip because I had a lightning lane for Millennium Falcon, for Star Tours, and for Muppet Vision. And then I had a single lightning lane for Rise, which I rode again. I had never ridden Millennium Falcon or Star Tours because I was kind of worried that the screens would make me feel motion sickness. Instead, they were the most fun rides. I would do them again and again. And I got one of the new, what are they called? The new versions of the Star Tours with the space whales and all that stuff, which was really fun. When I walked onto Millennium Falcon about 9:20, and the group I went in with were two couples, another single person, and me. The other single person didn't say a word, but I turned to the guy that I thought was the dominant male in the group, young guy, and I said, I just want to be an engineer. You don't want me to be a pilot. I don't want to be a pilot. And they all laughed, and I was an engineer, and so was the other guy that was a single traveler. And everybody was fine with their roles, and we did really well because I was just pushing buttons madly. I was having fun. It was great. And then I had a little bit of time between that and Star Tours, so I went back and checked out the Stormtroopers again, and I tried to get their attention. Like, I really kind of wanted to interact with them, but they were busy, messing around with kids. And so anyway, didn't get a chance to do that, but it was fun. Then I headed over to Star Tours. And this was another ride where I specifically asked for where I wanted to sit because I had heard that if you sit kind of in the middle, it's less jostly. And one of my big fears in life is falling out of something. So I didn't want to sit on the far end of anything, and I really didn't want to get jostled too much. It was so fun. I enjoyed that, I think, more than anything else I did on the whole trip.
That is so unpredictable.
I know.
I would not have guessed that.
I know. I mean, I have a lot of fears that I try to overcome my fears, and that was one of the fears I tried to overcome, and it worked, and it was fun. When I got off of that, which was probably about 10:25, I just sort of poked around the Muppets courtyard until I wanted to go on Muppet Vision, because I knew Muppet Courtyard's going away, and I just kind of wanted to take it all in for the last time. And I was finished with Muppet Vision about 11:20. And then I had another Brown Derby meal at 11:55 at lunch. I had to have the Cobb salad, which I didn't have the first meal I had there. I got my favorite table in the whole restaurant.
Which is where?
I didn't even have to ask for it, but I've had this table twice. And I think it's because they usually put single people there. It's on the far, if you look inside the restaurant, it's the far right-hand corner on the upper little level. And you kind of have a view of the whole restaurant, but nobody can see you. It's perfect.
I love that. For a while, they had characters that would come into the restaurant from the street and interact. And I'm like you, I like to be in the corner. I don't want to. And I'm like, oh gosh, I don't want the characters at my table. It feels like the quiet that I thought I was getting is not happening.
Yeah, that was great. The Rise single lightning lane was for $150. So I had plenty of time to get over for that. And that was another terrific ride. It was a different sequence. I didn't realize how different you could. I think I'd always sort of gotten the same when you go through the room with the big, what do they call them? The big tall.
I don't speak Star Wars, but
Anyway, that room, I'd always gone in one way, and this time I went in a different way. And that was fun because I saw different things, and that was fun. And then, okay, because I had Park Hopper, which again, this is another thing I'd never done before. And I loved having Park Hopper. I'd never tried it before, but it's just, when you get done with things and you're really kind of done at one park, it just feels good to have an option to do something else and not to, anyway, it just felt good.
it's freedom. So why hadn't you gotten it before?
I just thought it wasn't worth the price,
Okay.
but it felt like it was worth the price this time. I just thought I would try it and see.
Yeah. I remember before this was my job, I used to make out my plans. And every once in a while, it'd be like, my plans just look like one park per day, in which case you don't need to pay for the extra. But it is freedom.
Yeah, it really is. And you
just
can even
go.
go back to the first park if you decide to at the end, whatever. You're not stuck in one place.
100%. And like maybe you prefer a different park based on the weather, or you're like, I want to see fireworks again tonight. Let me hop.
Exactly.
It's more expensive, but it's more freedom.
Yeah.
So that's nice.
So I decided to go back to Epcot. So this time I went, let's see, how did I do this? I went on the Skyliner this time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing that I'm usually kind of a little bit leery of, a little scary, because I'm always afraid it's going to stop and they're going to have to rescue me with a fire truck or something. But it was fine.
Valid concern that doesn't really happen, but could happen, I guess.
It could happen. I try to get over my fears.
I love that. I think a lot of people just let their fears drive them.
So when I went back over to Epcot before it got dark, because it wasn't daylight savings time yet, I spent some time exploring the flower and garden show, seeing the butterfly garden and other flower and garden things in the front of the park. And I made a last minute dinner reservation at La Crêperie and rode Remy again. So, and I also tried the ice cream shop in France, which everybody always raves about. And I thought it was okay. But I expected to be have this transporting experience of amazing ice cream. But anyway.
I think the novelty of being able to combine ice cream with alcohol or pastries or something is kind of part of the appeal there. What did you think of the creperie?
I really liked it. I've eaten there before, but I'd only had breakfast there before. And so I had something very savory for dinner, and I really enjoyed it. So that was the end of Saturday, and I took the bus back again from the hotel bus back.
And that was the first weekend of Flower and Garden Festival. Did you think that Epcot felt busy that day?
Not really. I mean, even there were a couple lines that were long for some of the booths, but there were large parts of Epcot that weren't crowded.
Maybe Cosmic Green Wine was sucking up all the people.
It could have been.
Since it has a 4-hour line sometimes now.
Yeah.
The next day was... Go ahead.
And I was going to say, and that's one ride I can't do. I know I can't do that one.
Yeah.
Because I've seen what it looks like in light before they finished it. And I can't be that high up off the ground. I just can't, because I know how high I am.
Yeah. The next day was Sunday, March 9th, and you had an easy day planned.
Yes, I had an easy day planned. The first thing, though, that I wanted to do was, I hadn't planned to eat at La Crêperie twice, but I had breakfast planned for Saturday or Sunday. So I did another ride share to Beach Club to go through the International Gateway. I had breakfast at 9:00 at La Crêperie, and then I took another last look at all the topiaries in France, Morocco, and Japan. When I was in the Japan pavilion, there was nobody else around. It was like it was my own private park. It was amazing.
It's so pretty, too.
It's so beautiful. And it was still kind of a cool morning, so I wasn't in a hurry. This was a pool day. I wasn't in a big hurry to get to the pool. And I had actually arranged for a cabana that day at the Hilton. And that's my way of ensuring I have a shaded area by the pool if I want to spend a long time at the pool. And that's what I did.
Was it warm enough?
It was. It was high 70s, low 80s. It was a beautiful day. It was sunny, no rain or anything. It was great. So I was at the pool most of the afternoon, and then I had dinner at one of the hotel restaurants, which is a really nice Italian restaurant, really good. Highly recommend it. And that's the end of Sunday.
That does indeed sound like an easy day.
It was a very easy day. I did very little.
Next day was your last park day.
My last park day.
But you also bought Premier Pass.
I did. And it was so worth it.
I can't wait to hear.
I wouldn't say that if I had 3 people with me or 4 people with me, but by myself, it was so worth it. And it was my biggest splurge of the trip. I think it was about $449. It was something like that. It was ridiculous. But I just didn't want to have to be looking at my phone and checking things and I just didn't want to have to do any of that stuff. So it worked out exactly the way I had hoped. So I'm going to give you the quick rundown because it happened so quick. I got there. I took the Hilton bus to Magic Kingdom I got there about 8:45, well after early entry. It's like I could have done early entry because that hotel lets you do that, but I didn't need it. And I started by just leisurely taking a Main Street vehicle from the town hall to the castle, which I'd never taken the time to do before because I'm always in a hurry to get to where I'm going, and I didn't have to be in a hurry. I took one, it was the little yellow car, and it was just fun because there was only room for like 5 people in it, and I was the last person to climb in, and it was just nice. So then what I decided to do was do clockwise, starting with Adventureland, so I didn't have to crisscross across the park at all. I did 9 attractions, that were covered by Lightning Lane, plus Enchanted Tales with Belle, with an hour break for lunch and an hour and a half break for rain between 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock. I don't think that's possible to do otherwise.
No, that's a lot to get done in not very much time.
Yeah. So I did Jungle Cruise, Pirates, Peter Pan, Mickey's PhilharMagic, which I did because the rain started then. I wanted to be inside. The Teacups, Buzz Lightyear, Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor, Enchanted Tales with Belle, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, which I'd never done before and I was scared to do, but I had so much fun, and Dumbo. Those are the ones I did. And with all that time where I had to be inside because of the rain, I just took shelter in Cosmic Rays and looked at my photos because it was raining too hard to be outside. That was the day that the tornado passed just north of Orlando.
Yeah.
But it wasn't that stormy. It was 15 minutes of a big rainstorm and the rest of it was just sort of drizzle. So
did you leave at 3?
I did.
Okay, so before we move on, because I know you have dinner plans that night, it sounds like you're saying Premier Pass was worth it.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
It was worth it. I really felt like I'm in charge of what I do when, and if I choose not to do everything, like I could have fit in Haunted Mansion, I could have fit in a couple of other things, but I felt like I just did everything I wanted to do, and it was enjoyable.
And this was your last park time. So for you to say, you know what, I am done.
Yeah.
You must have felt, I think this trip report is highlighting a perk of solo travel, which is it's easier to splurge because you're not multiplying it by 3, 4, 6, whatever the number is.
Exactly. I would have spent money very differently if I was, even just with my husband, we just would have done things differently. But yeah. So I think I got one thing mixed up with something here because I think I told you that I had dinner at La Crêperie the other night, but I think it was this night.
This night in the pre-trip, you had said you had a hotel dinner reservation.
That was the night before, I believe. I'm not sure where I had dinner this night. This was a long trip, and I got a little confused.
But at some point, you did have dinner at the hotel.
Yes, that I did.
So was that as good as you?
Yeah, it was very
expected?
good. It was. I've eaten there before, and it was really good. They do a tableside tiramisu, which I'd never seen anybody do before, and it was delicious. It was wonderful. So after I was finished with rides, I took the Magic Kingdom train, the main train that goes around to the park entrance, and then I took the monorail back to Epcot, and I did more Epcot things, and I couldn't get enough of Flower and Garden.
Okay, so Magic Kingdom wasn't the last of your part time because you had
No.
hoppers.
I had hoppers.
You hopped.
I could hop. So sorry about getting mixed up about where I ate dinner one night, but I can't remember where the other one was. But anyway, that's what my notes say. So that was the end of that night. I took the Hilton bus back to the hotel that night. The next day was Tuesday, the 11th, which was my departure day, but my flight wasn't until the evening.
Okay.
And my ride wasn't coming till 5:30. So I really had the whole day. I had breakfast at the hotel, and I checked my bags with Bell Services and headed over to Disney Springs by rideshare because the hotel bus didn't leave till noon, and I wanted to be over there because I had a 12 o'clock lunch reservation at Chef Art Smith's, which was really fun. And the rest of the day, I just enjoyed Disney Springs and bought souvenirs for kids in my family.
So you got there by rideshare. You did some last minute shopping. You had a good lunch at homecoming.
Yeah, really good. Yeah. And then I just took the hotel bus back to the hotel.
And then you had that same car service take you.
Same car service. And my flight was on time and got in by midnight in Chicago.
All right.
So
what a delight.
It was such a good trip. It was like I said, I've done this my 5th time going on my own, and this was the best.
Nice.
This was the best.
So looking back at your plans, how did you feel about having a split stay that was on-site and off-site?
Again, because of the transportation issues, I think I would probably not do that again unless they change that up or there's another hotel that offers better transportation.
But when you stayed there before, was it a combo on-site, off-site split stay as well?
Yeah.
And you were fine with it because the transportation was better?
The transportation was better in previous years. I did it 2 years in a row, split stay between Beach Club and the Hilton. And both times I found it worked out well. This time it was just not quite as good.
So in the past, when you did the split stay, have you always done on-site and then move off-site?
Yeah. Well, the first time I did split stay, I did the Hilton first and then Beach Club. And I decided the Hilton, because it had just been renovated, felt fancier and nicer and newer than Beach Club did. So then I didn't want to go down
so interesting
in quality. So the next time I stayed at Beach Club first and then went to the Hilton. And this time I really wanted Animal Kingdom first because I wanted to be near Animal Kingdom and I wanted that experience up front. And I knew that it wouldn't be the same as the combination of it. That's just how it worked out on the timing.
I think a lot of people feel like going on-site to off-site feels like a downgrade, but I guess it depends where you're going.
Yeah. And Beach Club is a beautiful resort. It's just the room didn't feel as fresh and new.
It's not.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. It's just that it has easier access on-site.
Yeah. And that's really big, especially for Epcot and Hollywood Studios. Beach Club is just so convenient.
It is.
And I think that's why the transportation bothered me this time was because when you're at Beach Club, you literally just stumble out of bed and you're at one of two parks. And what could be easier than that? You don't even have to wait for a bus,
Yeah,
so.
That makes sense. So next time, are you planning to go next year?
I'm hoping.
You're hoping. And will that be 100% on-site given the transportation changes?
I think so.
And will it be a split on-site stay or all Wilderness Lodge? What are you thinking?
No, I think I'll still, because I can't wait to get back to Stormalong Bay. I love that pool, but it's, closed and under renovation. It's so sad when you walk by. Have you seen it all torn up? It's just,
yeah.
It just looks like so pitiful. So when they put that back together, I want to stay at Beach Club again.
Okay. And I love that Wilderness Lodge Beach Club combo, if that's what you end up doing, because when you're at Wilderness Lodge, you can do Magic Kingdom things.
Yeah,
and when you're at Beach Club, you can do Epcot and Hollywood Studios things. And this time, you did Animal Kingdom things.
Yeah.
So that's really fun.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that trip was so good. And I appreciate you taking the time to share. I know that a lot of people are considering solo trips, and you've given a great example of how that can work.
Yeah.
Thanks, Deb.
Okay.
I hope you enjoyed that trip report from Deb. We did keep talking on the Patreon after chat, including about how she planned her trip with a sort of a system where she had all her plans on a piece of paper for a day so she could kind of keep it manageable as she was heading out to the parks for the day. If you're a patron, look for that now. If you're not a patron, you can become one and enjoy that right away. That'll wrap up this episode of WDW Prep To Go. For more information, please check the show notes in your podcast app or head to the website, wdwprepschool.com. Click on podcast at the top, scroll down to episode 454. Until next time, I will see you on the site.
Owning a boat comes with a number of perks, like being able to say ahoy or land ho and not feel weird about it. So here's another perk. Geico's boat insurance offers access to the largest towing fleet on the water. And with specialist support from agents that are as passionate about boating as you are, there's so much value that you'll want to say, shiver me timbers, and not feel weird about that either. Get more with Geico.